Tonight we're going to be hearing from Nura and Mehayla. We'll start with you, Nura. If you want to just give a quick intro, like your name, when you graduated Hackbright, even like what you were doing before and what you're doing now, just a quick intro, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nura, and I'm currently in Austin, Texas, and I graduated Hackbright in San Francisco in 2017. And while I lived in San Francisco, I was working before Hackbright as a fundraiser for a nonprofit. I also was like an admin, so I wore lots of different hats. And yeah, and then after Hackbright, moved around, but now I'm currently working at Salesforce as a software engineer.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. Mehayla, can you go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Mehayla. I graduated Hackbright this last October, so October of 2021. And before Hackbright, I had actually graduated undergraduate in 2020 and went through a 2-year job hunt. That was a struggle, and was just working retail before I got into Hackbright. And now I work as an implementation engineer for a company called Forethought. And I'm super excited to talk with you guys more and answer all your questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Super pumped. These events are always really cool. I'm excited to see what comes up. And again, just encourage you to, as we are having our conversations, ping in with any follow-up questions you have in the chat. And with that, we'll start our questions and start picking these panelists' brain. We're going to be following like their software engineering journey. So the first segment of questions we'll be talking about their Hackbright experience, what led them there. And then the second portion will touch on more what they're doing now and their current role. So, and I'll be just ping-ponging between who starts off with the answers between Nura and Mehayla. So first question is one of my favorites. I ask it to every applicant to Hackbright that I get to talk to, and it is, why did you decide to go to Hackbright? What led you down this road? Let's start with Mehayla this time.
Yeah, so I think a lot of things kind of led me to Hackbright. I had had a little bit of exposure to coding in college, but I started self-teaching in that 2-year gap after my undergrad, and I got just more interested and intrigued in it, and I discovered everything I can do with it. And it was honestly my roommate who worked in the tech field, and she had coworkers who graduated from Hackbright, and I started talking with them, and all of them had an overwhelming amount of positive things to say about Hackbright. And I started doing more research and decided to trust in this community, and I'm so glad that I did.
Awesome. Love that. Thanks. Nura, what was your journey to Hackbright?
Yeah, when I was working at the nonprofit, I was doing all of their email newsletters and making their landing pages. And I decided, oh, I don't want my things to look like the 1990s anymore. So I started taking some coding classes, and that was my gateway. And then I started meeting people at these classes, and they were all from like non-traditional backgrounds, and they were like working as software engineers, and I was like intrigued that like it's not the cliche person that you think of as a software engineer. And so I was starting to think like maybe this is for me, and then I started to browse around for coding boot camps, and the one that the reason I liked Hackbright the most is because I felt like it was a place that I could be really vulnerable while I learned. A lot of the other coding boot camps were very intense. They were like eat, sleep, drink, code. If you can't make it, we kick you out, So I just felt like that vibe was not for me. So I chose Hackbright, and I'm just so glad it really meshed with like my style of learning and really just built upon what I had already like was teaching myself beforehand.
I love that. And I love what you hit on. It's true. A lot of other snares out there. I just feel like Hackbright is a really great blend of still challenging yourself, being rigorous, having those high standards, but we know you're human and we want you to be well balanced in all aspects, including social life, mental life, all of those things. So love that thought. We had a third panelist join us. I'm guessing you were having some struggles like I did joining the meeting, but we want to introduce Devon. You made it to join us. Devon, do you want to introduce yourself? Give a quick, just when you did Hackbright, what are you doing now, and what led you to Hackbright was the last question we covered.
Sure. I graduated from Hackbright in spring 2014. My husband, who was my fiance at the time, was a software engineer in San Francisco, and his company hired out of boot camps. Prior to Hackbright, I was a special education teacher for 7 years. And we were, just talking about how it just wasn't super sustainable. And I was kind of over just the politics and bureaucracy that came with working in education. And I had attended a few girl development workshops and just had a lot of fun. And I got into Dev Bootcamp and Hackbright, and I just liked Hackbright better because smaller class sizes. I didn't really want to be competing, or I liked the idea of doing an individual project instead of a group project. And I just felt more comfortable in a female identifying space, especially like coming from education where I knew it was going to be like a really big leap for me. So. And right now I am the lead quality engineer, one of the lead quality engineers at Fanatics. So if you've ever bought a sports jersey, we probably made it. So.
Awesome. Love it. Glad you're here. Glad you could join us. We're excited. You touched on something that I think is very important and really relevant to anybody who's thinking about joining Hackbright in this space. One of the biggest mental hurdles to overcome can be to picture yourself here. And that was touched on earlier in Nura's response about how it can be hard to overcome like what you think an engineer looks like, or, you have that kind of mental picture. And so my next question is, what would you tell people who don't know that software engineering is for them? Like, how did you answer that question? How do I know software engineering is for me? And I'm going to popcorn back to Nura and then Mehayla, then we'll go to Devon.
So I guess before I took the plunge, I just took as many classes as I could take. I also took girl development classes. Those were the classes that I got to see like women who were software engineers, and they were like, in the tech scene, and they were killing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that tech could be, fun. Like, so, yeah, so I was taking those classes. I also took a lot of classes online, and basically like I wanted to make sure that I could at least do a decent maybe for loop. And then I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think that I get lost in it. When I would do my newsletters at the nonprofit, I would get lost in making sure that this one button was in a particular spot, and I would just get lost in the problem solving. And I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can make this a career, because it's so intriguing to be able to get it just right.
I love that. I always listen for that when I'm talking to someone considering Hackbright, is when you can just tell that they're excited about it and time flies and it's something that becomes a real enjoyment. So that's perfect. Mehayla, what would you say to that question? How do I know software engineering is for me?
Well, I think first off, there's kind of this fear about approaching it because, there's not a lot of attainable knowledge out there sometimes. And when you don't know about something, it's easy to kind of be like, oh, like coding, that's a little scary. But I think Nura kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, you don't know if something is for you until you try it. And there are so many resources out there that you can just try it out and see if you like it. And like to name a few, like Leak Code, you can make a free account and do that. There's Hacker Rank. There's a lot of just ways you can have little small puzzles you can fit into your game that aren't big projects. And if you like puzzles, if you like problem solving, and your mind's starting to get it and it feels right, then you know. I think Hackbright also has a like short intro Python course you can take to like kind of test and see if that's for you. So I'd also recommend that.
Yeah, it's an awesome point. I feel like with the Hackbright application process, it is set up that although it can feel intimidating at first to be like, oh, I need to know some things before applying, or there's like a technical interview, it's part of the admissions process. It's actually fun to dig in and start learning some of the prereq items. And I feel like it's a way to, like you pointed out, get acquainted with it, see how you feel coding, see how you respond to it. And so I always encourage like lean into it and enjoy that part of the process, and just it'll help you get more excited to know if this is a right step for you. And Hackbright does have a prep program. It's a 5-week program that definitely will help get you introduced if you are somebody who is new and wants to start exploring. It looks like Noelle did the Python prep course, which is fantastic. And someone's registered for it. So happy day. I love prep. It really is an awesome program. So fantastic. Devon, what do you have to add to this topic? Knowing software engineering is right for you.
So I'll be honest, even when I started Hackbright, I wasn't sure. I kind of saw myself like maybe I'd get more into project management or product management, and just having, you know, more of a technical knowledge will help. Because I was terrible at math, terrible at science, had no interest for any of that. I don't like puzzles, but I do love organizing things. I love organization. When I was a teacher, I loved the case management part of my job. And there's so many more roles in tech than just engineer. Like what I do, I write code every day, but when I find bugs, it's not my problem, which I love. I've given a lot of talks just about my role and a lot of the other roles in tech. I've heard it described as coding honestly is more of a trade. It's like learning how to sew. It's something you learn how to do. But every time I get on a new project or I change jobs, the technical stack I use ends up changing. So I feel like it's not about, learning everything there is to know about Python and then you're good. It's, being comfortable pivoting and just liking the fact that you get to kind of tackle something and make it your own, and, bring some of those other soft skills. I feel like anybody that is really passionate about organizing things and putting things in their place and liking that everything has a correct answer would really enjoy coding. And once you get in and learn how to code, there's so many options open to you. So whatever you end up joining a company and you get passionate about, there's probably a role that allows you to do more of that and less of whatever it is that you maybe don't love.
It's an excellent point. It's a very vast industry and there are lots of different niches and roads you can take. And it's a great thing to keep in mind. And I love, just in light of hearing responses from 3 different people, because you can hear how they each clicked with something different that they connected with in this coding world. And that's how it will be. So just remember that it's not going to look the same for every person. And the thing that you want to focus and hone in on and enjoy about it will be unique person to person. And I love those intros. You also can see how all of these people come from different backgrounds, different previous industries and careers. And so it's something that can be for anybody if it's what you want. I think that's the coolest thing about Hackbright and these boot camps, is that if it's what you want, you really can put in the work and get the skills and make that change. Next question for you 3. If you're going to give advice, what advice would you give to incoming or current students at Hackbright? Let's start with Mehayla this time and then do Devon and Nura.
For people about to start or in the program, I think I did the full-time program. So for me, I think what was important was making sure I was prioritizing a balance. And so I started to go on walks every single day after I finished boot camp classes. And I think that really can help you come back and really refocus either that night or the next day when you need to. So striving to get that balance. And then also starting your networking growing as soon as possible and getting that LinkedIn and taking the advice that the outcomes and career team are giving you, take it very seriously because it really does pay off. And just by doing a little bit every week throughout the program, it makes it so much easier after the program.
Love that. Perfect. Devon, what are your thoughts? What advice did you give to a student or a prospective student?
So I know for me, like coming from education, that is a job where you basically learn all the things, and then from then it's more of an art. It's not a science. So the thing that I struggle with most with Hackbright is the idea that I couldn't just memorize everything. I couldn't memorize everything. I couldn't learn everything. I couldn't remember everything. I'd get like 40 different tabs open of 40 different things that I wanted to brush up on, and then I would just end up paralyzed. And so accepting the fact that you don't need to know everything, you don't need to memorize everything, you just need to know what to Google. I found a few really great resources and bookmarked them. I found a few people that were really good at explaining things in a way that I understood it. And then I took it one day at a time. And when I left, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pick one thing and I'm going to read one article or look at one blog, and that is it. Because it gets to the point where you just get so overwhelmed, or your brain gets so full that you just literally can't do anything and you can't remember anything. I think doing the prep work is great. If you could get to the point where you understand basic lists and dictionaries and for loops, I'd call that good. And then let your brain absorb what it's going to absorb, bookmark what you need to bookmark, and move on to the next thing. Because I still struggle with that even in my job now. When I change things, I just have to understand, like, I learn by doing and watching. I know that's how I learn best. I've got my resources, I've got my contact people, and I'm going to do what I can do till I get stuck. I'm going to spend an hour Googling it. And if I can't figure it out after that, I'm going to ask somebody. And that's where it is. Don't give yourself an ulcer. I thought I had one for the last 2 weeks. It turns out it was just stress.
That is good advice. Don't give yourself an ulcer. Definitely put that in stone. No, it's very true. I feel like that's similar to what Mehayla was saying, where I think a big part of it is being in tune with where you're at, how you're doing. And it's amazing what you can still work through, even by stepping back and giving yourself that space to breathe, that's still part of the process of problem solving and going through. Nura, what advice do you have?
Well, this is advice that I actually tell myself even at work. Number one, like, don't be afraid to look stupid. Like, you pay to be here. You want to use every day to your like utmost advantage. So like, ask a billion questions. Don't feel self-conscious that you're like the only one asking questions. I got a lot of people who would come up to me after class and be like, I'm so glad you asked that because I didn't know. And I was too afraid to ask. And so ask a billion questions and like make sure they're stupid. The stupider, the better, you know? That's how you learn. And then the second thing is like, like taking care of yourself. But another key thing that works every time at work is like, if you are stuck and you are frustrated and you're just not getting it, take a break. Walk, get up, just leave the problem there. Don't force it. And I promise you, you will come back and you will have a clearer mind and you'll be able to think through what was just there. And I still do these things. So that's my advice.
I love that. And I love that you say you're still pulling that in to your career now. That's perfect. Awesome. Okay, and this next and last question, kind of this Hackbright era, beginning of your journey stage. I like this question. What was the most enjoyable and what was the most difficult part of your bootcamp experience? That's a good one. And this time I'll start with Devon and then we'll do Nura and Mehayla.
I think the most enjoyable, honestly, again, going from education was going into a nice, quiet office environment, sitting down with my computer, learning things, getting right answers, and then, just having the opportunity to really get creative and do something hands-on. Again, coming from a background where I mostly work with people, people are not perfect, people are not predictable. So it was really nice to just kind of have that context switch, to be able to sit down and know that there is a right answer. And if I find it, everything's going to work and it's going to be this great feeling that I didn't necessarily always get in my previous job. The hardest thing I kind of touched on before is it's just a big context switch. For a lot of us, we're in jobs where we've gotten really good at our jobs. We know everything there is to know about our jobs, and all we have to do is show up and do it. And tech will never be that way. You will never know everything. You will never be 100% comfortable. Usually the minute you get 100% comfortable, you end up changing jobs. And so that was really hard to wrap my head around, like just getting used to never being 100% competent, basically. And you just kind of make your peace with that and you move on with your life. So
I love that. It's very true. You almost view it in like you're a lifelong learner in this industry. You're always going to be digging into something new and having a new challenge, and that can be one of the things that people love the most about entering the industry. Thanks for that. Nura, what are your thoughts on that? Most difficult or most enjoyable and most difficult part of the bootcamp?
It was super awesome to make these lifelong friends. I feel like I still talk to a lot of the people that I went to school with in 2017. So that's really, really nice. The network is full of really nice, supportive people. Also, it's really great that, like, I don't know how people do this who are self-taught. It's amazing. I'm just truly floored, but I was really great that Hackbright basically arranged all the information that I needed to know, and I would just show up and learn. So I appreciate that. Most difficult part, I actually am still haunted by this concept. This one particular week, it was classes, and I remember that week, and I remember that weekend, and I cried the whole weekend, and I was like, this is it. It's not for me. I'm not gonna make it. And I think finally, like, I remembered like the class. I remember the teacher. I could picture it in my mind. Something that teacher said just finally like clicked. And I remember being like, aha, I finally get this crazy concept that I've never seen before. And I still, even at my job, I still picture that teacher doing and saying the metaphor when I'm working with classes.
how I felt when we got into CSS. I was like, oh God, screw this.
Yeah. Everyone has their like week of like, oh, okay, this is testing my whole like being. Like
It is very true. That week will come and it will push you, and that's why we want to have the community there to work through it and to learn from it. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Mehayla, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the most enjoyable part about the boot camp was the way we got to learn. You're not just like alone through the process, really. Like more than the first half, you're doing paired programming with somebody else, which was super enjoyable, and you get to like build and make those connections. And then in the later part of the program, you get to actually like make your own project. And for me, like building something and actually utilizing everything I've learned to create something, I just got so much joy out of. I think also like just the amount of effort the staff goes to make a community. My Hackbright experience was full-time, but it was all online. And so it only existed like in a Discord, but they use that Discord so well. and it still exists and people still use it, and I'm really thankful for that. And just like getting to do a weekly game night online and having that time to like socialize still was amazing. The most difficult part of the boot camp, I think for me was honestly just physically sitting in front of a computer for so many hours. I have a like super active lifestyle, so that was a bit of a transition for me, and like my eyes got a little bit sore at some point. Your legs, you're like, oh, you're falling asleep. So that might be good advice if you're incoming. Make sure you have a good chair to sit in, because it really does make a difference. And this is a common thing throughout all of the tech industry, is just, you know, having good lumbar support and taking care of your physical body. Yeah.
Really, that's a really solid topic to bring up. Great way to prepare for this experience. And also love that you touched on the difference with the community when it's in this virtual world that we're in now and we're working remotely, because that is such an important part of Hackbright, is our culture, is the community support. And that was something we were very conscious of when we did open up our remote options. And so like Mehayla pointed out, we do definitely still take a lot of efforts to cultivate connections, to still stay connected, and to still do things like Friday game afternoon still happens. So transitioning now for more the in-class mindset. Now we're going to talk more about where you are now, because understandably a lot of the applicants and potential students, a big anxiety about this is what it's going to be like to be a woman or a gender diverse person in the workforce and the industry, and they want to know about their career transition and like if it's worth it. So these will just give us a small insight into your working life. First question is, what are some things you've been working on lately? Just to tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day is like. Let's hear from Devon first, and then we'll do Mehayla and Nura.
I work across teams, so I do like the end-to-end experience. So I'm helping with one team getting an automated mobile app testing framework. So it is Appium with Java and Selenium, or Appium, Java, and TestNG. So I'm building that for them, and then I'm going to hand that off once they're done. They're also giving me a list of manual test cases that I'm going to put in a repository so that I can track the testing and the results and share that with the team. And then I'm doing a company initiative to improve communication and collaboration. So I'm heading an effort to put together a new organization chart with what each team owns, how to get in contact with them, any links to their documentation and repos. And then I spend a lot of time helping my team members. So if anybody gets stuck on their automation or their testing, I'll help them get set up, help them debug, and I also write a lot of documentation for my team too, of the processes that we're doing, and making sure our readmes for all the repos are looking really solid.
Wow, that is quite the wide variety. You can see how you're dipping into everything. Product facing, internally facing with your coworkers. That's fun. Very cool. Hey, what about you? What have you been working on lately?
Yeah, so I like I said earlier, I did graduate in October, and I did start this job a month ago. So technically, I'm still in the onboarding phase. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that's the first like 4 months or so of, sometimes it's 6 months of a job that helps you transition into the role and get to know the company a lot more. So I've been doing a lot with that. It's really fun because I've actually learned how to train models with kind of customer data recently, and this kind of fine tunes our product to work specifically for our customers. So that's been exciting. I've also been working on giving back to the company by helping them kind of improve their documentation for their onboarding process. Just because a lot of it, because they are a startup and so they don't have a lot of formalized documentation quite yet. It's a kind of a big undertaking, and Yeah, it's all quite exciting.
It will be much appreciated down the road. So well worth it.
Yes, exactly. I would have appreciated it, but so it's kind of like watching a lot of their past training videos and like making it into the documentation.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Nura, what about you? What's going on with you? Working on lately?
I'm very impressed. Onboarding is really hard. And Devon, you know like a billion languages. So yeah, so I'm a backend developer. I just coded Ruby. I work on basically just authenticating the user in so many different ways. And yeah, but the other non-tech related things, like I also am organizing their virtual offsite and take turns. Mine's gonna have Jeopardy in it, so that's exciting. I also organize a book club. I'm working on that. And I read code reviews and I just answer a lot of Slack messages. So that is the day in the life of Nura.
I love that. That's really honed in the point I think Devon brought up earlier, just about how different your job can look based on the company you work for, the size of your company, how they structure and organize their teams. There's just a wide variety out there, which is fun. Perfect. Let's go on to, I want to leave some time for questions. So let's go on to, what are some qualities you have that you feel make you successful in your role? And this time, let's do Mehayla, Nura, Devon. Mehayla, if you want to kick us off, any thoughts on what makes you successful in your role?
Yeah, I think part of what the company saw in me for this role is not only having technical abilities that was proven because of or like built because of Hackbright, but also having good people skills. They're very big about their culture, and because they are building and growing so fast, they really care about who they're hiring and who's going to like be creating that culture. And I'm sorry about the lighting right now. I feel like there's a shadow and I'm just in a spot.
Very artsy looking.
It's not intentional, it's just the time of day. Yeah, and so my role is also interesting because it's at this intersection in the company. So I'm not only working and communicating with all of the other engineering teams, but I'm also connecting and communicating and working with their entire sales and customer support team. And about 10% of my role is actually talking to the customers. So those people skills did come in, and my like years of retail did come in handy when I was interviewing and when I was doing that. And I think what makes me successful on the technical part is that I'm just curious. And with onboarding, that's come in handy because I'm just asking all of the questions and I'm diving deep into everything they've made so far. Because they have a massive just GitHub repository that has been very fun to learn about.
That's fantastic. I love that. Thanks for those thoughts. Nura, what about you?
I guess the thing I hear the most is that I just ask a billion questions. I like being curious. I'm really not afraid to look stupid. We're just humans just traveling through space. We're just little specks of dust on the, like, why would I care what people think about me asking a follow-up question? So basically it's just like ignoring the imposter syndrome that I have every day and just telling it to just go to HEWL hockey sticks, like, let's just, so I think that like, I'm just not afraid to just put myself out there, try new things. And yeah, you never know. Like, I never thought that I would be interested in Ruby. I never thought I would be interested in working on like aspects of logging in a user. But there's a lot of, neat problems out there, and there's a lot of nice people who are willing to help and support you. So yeah.
I love that. I definitely am feeling your vibes of ask the questions, do it. And I think that is so true. So everyone should catch that lesson. And I was going to say too, I didn't mention Mehayla's point about how important it is to also be thinking about like your social presence and not just like your technical skills. That is a really important factor too. I was going to touch on that too. I really liked her point there. And that's something that the Hackbright instructors and team, they're trying to also be aware of that. And as you're getting ready to interview and go through that process, they want to make sure that you're also thinking about that and how to best present yourself in that light. So that was perfect. Devon, let's hear from you. What are some qualities you feel like help make you successful?
Definitely organization. The fact that I actually like writing documentation. And as someone that came from a non-technical background, like I understand what people need to know as part of documentation, so I can make sure to include that. It's actually kind of cool. Sorry, I got to shift. My butt's been in this chair for too long. One of the first things I did for a company that I worked for was as a special education teacher, we had to do a lot of assessments. So you assess the student, you figure out where their weaknesses are, you come up with solutions for it, you implement it, but you have to take data to see if it works. So when I started with the company, they were like, yeah, our quality organization is kind of crazy. And I'm like, well, what is every team doing? And they're like, we don't know. And I'm like, well, why don't you do an assessment? And they're like, could you do that? And I'm like, sure. So I did the exact same thing for the company I did as a teacher, where I went team to team and I'm like, what are your processes? What are your pain points? What tools are you using? What's working? What's not working? What have you automated? What isn't automated? Do you know how to kick off the automation? Who maintains your automation? And when we came back, it was easier for the company to see like, okay, this is what's working well, so we should make this company wide. This is what's not working well, and here's what we could do to fix that. Here's resources that this team has that they could share with this team. And here's where like nobody has a clue where it's going on. So this is where we need to focus our lunch and learns. And they were just so delighted by that. And that's the kind of thing that a person that got a college degree in computer science wouldn't think to do something like that. That's where the skills that you get at your previous job can really help. So one of the things I do now that delights my boss is, I'll learn something new and then I'll make a presentation on it. I make a lunch and learn. I write up documentation with screenshots. I record all of our meetings and I upload them. That way, if somebody missed a meeting, they can just go find it. Like, these are all not hard technical things to do. They're just things that somebody that only has a technical background wouldn't think to do. And again, the companies I've worked for have been delighted that they have somebody willing to do all this, because, a lot of strict programmers, they don't want to mess with all of that stuff, but it's so helpful to the company.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're talking about that. I'm like, wow, what a blessing that is to your teammates, your coworkers. It shows how important it is to be self-aware of what your strengths are, so you can really capitalize on them for your benefit and everybody else's. So that's awesome. All right, so we have about 10 minutes left in the event. There is another question I want to make sure we get through all the panelists. If anybody in the audience has a burning question you want to make sure is on our radar, I encourage you to drop it in the chat just so we have it written down and we make sure we get to it. So while you're thinking about any questions you have, one last question for the panelists is a combination of, was changing careers worth it? And what advice do you have for people in the room who are looking to change their career? And for this one, does anybody want to volunteer to go first? I know some people might want to be thinking about that for a second. Anybody have thoughts off the bat?
I can go.
Okay,
So I think changing into this career was definitely worth it. On top of the fact that I love the work and I love all of my coworkers. So I recommend it. And if people are looking to switch to software engineering, like I said before, just try it. You never know until you try. And if that's what's holding you back, just do it. This is your sign to do it. So what out of my life experience is valuable, and what would make me potentially a better engineer? And I think thinking about it like that can be really helpful. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That was making like my Hackbright heart beat. That was just like right in line with why we do what we do. So thank you. Let's do Devon and then Nura.
I definitely think it's worth it. I know when I was thinking about getting out of education before, I was so specialized, I would have had to start at the entry level anywhere else I went. Or I'd have to go back and pay a lot of money and spend a lot more time to get an additional degree. This is almost like a trade school. It's something where you can learn a super in-demand skill fairly quickly and immediately come out. Even at the entry level, you're going to be doing better than you were probably in your previous job. There's not enough people getting computer science degrees to fill all of it. So employers are looking for bootcamp graduates. They know that, you know, you're learning to do the things that you're going to need to be doing on day one at a job. The one thing I would recommend too is a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I really want to work for financial tech, or oh, I love animals, so I really want to work for this one like wag.com or something. And the thing is, code looks like code. You can't tell by looking at the code what type of company it is. So, you know, at first I was like, oh, I should work in an ed tech company. And then I'm like, you know what, I'm looking at code. Like, I would find a company where you like the people, you like the culture, the benefits align with what you need. You know, the money is what you're looking for. And even if the product or the app itself isn't something you really care about, again, code is code. It's about the environment that you're working in. The code is going to be the same. JavaScript is JavaScript, no matter what app, what company. So I'd say don't get too hung up on that and just focus on the vibe you get, the company culture. Get on Glassdoor, read reviews about people that have actually worked there, what they think.
Yeah. Golden advice. Love that. Nura, what about you?
Let's see. So I can only talk from my own personal experience. I just like 100%, it was the right decision for me. I was basically an admin at my last like role before tech, which was I was, you know, cleaning the office, I was stocking the fridge, I was taking care of everyone's needs. I didn't really have a clearly defined role. And my husband, who is a software engineer, I would see him roll into the office at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. sometimes. I would see all of his benefits. I would see him getting paid triple my salary. And I'm just glad that I made the connection that even though I don't have the math skills or the engineering background, that there was a place for me in tech. And I'm just really happy that I took a really long time. It took me 6 months to find my first entry-level job. And I wasn't, you know, I was making, well, just the lowest salary, and I was being taken advantage of. And, but, you know, I recognized that that wasn't a good place for me. And I just kept stumbling my way until I found a place that takes care of me. And I get those amazing perks and benefits, but also like I'm in a place where I can still learn and be challenged and not doing like mindless, numbing work where I don't feel like I have respect. I feel like I'm respected by my coworkers. So yeah, it's the best decision I've made.
I love that. That's my favorite question from these panels. I don't know if you guys can just feel that, but it's just really powerful to hear people that have taken control of their life and made this change and taken the jump, and just how for them it was the perfect next move, and just all the great things that come from that. So thank you for sharing that. It looks like in the chat, we have 3 questions that we for sure want to get to. And I think that we can, we'll do our best just to like hit highlights. With these questions, each panelist doesn't have to feel like they have to answer. Maybe if one of you has a pertinent thought that you want to make sure you share, then just, you know, you could take lead on that. First question is, what is the emotional transition like when moving from like the supportive Hackbright coding community to a job in the real world? Does anybody have thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, beautiful name, Abby. I was really concerned about this during my job search, but it's important to remember when you're interviewing for a job, you're interviewing that company just as much as they're interviewing you. So asking about, like, don't be afraid to just ask about that. And then also asking its employees directly and not just the recruiters or the managers. Cindy gave me great advice about just reaching out and not being afraid to ask on LinkedIn. And so for my current job, I like just messaged people on LinkedIn and I was like, how do you like working for your team? How do you like working for this company? And people were super honest and upfront with me, whether or not, it's a supportive environment or not.
Yeah, for me, it's like tech companies aren't any different from any other companies. There's going to be people you like, there's going to be people that you don't like. During the interviews, I always ask about onboarding. I'm like, so what's your onboarding process? What do you think a successful first week, successful first month would look like? Do you guys do any kind of pair programming? Do you do lunch and learns? Do you guys allow for professional development? Those are all questions you can kind of ask, but I'd say trust your gut. My very first position, luckily it was just a 2-month contract to hire, and they offered me a full-time contract, but I ended up moving out of the Bay Area and I live in Denver now. But I basically took the job, even though my gut was telling me not to. I was like, this guy's toxic. I can tell just by the way he's talking to me. He's kind of a jerk. But I was so paranoid about not working, I took it. And I was like, oh, it's just a 2-month contract to hire. If I don't like it, I won't accept the contract. Well, that was the most miserable 2 months of my entire life. I probably would have been better off just not taking that job and spending those 2 months just developing a portfolio, because I knew I was going to end up moving. And then after that, like, I would go on interviews and I'd be like, okay, again, if I'm going to spend 40 hours of my life here, it needs to be a place that I like. And I would just say, trust your gut, talk to people, ask the questions. To me, it's very telling if they put any women in the room to interview with me. I look and see if they have any inclusion and diversity initiatives. I look and see what their benefits are. You can tell a lot about the company culture and how they care about their people by looking at their benefits and by looking at what types of organizations, what they find important enough about their company to put on there about us. So I would just be really critical about that. And just remember, any place you work, you're going to learn, but you're going to have to spend 40 hours of your week there. That's a big chunk of your life. So if your gut's telling you something's wrong, just don't do it.
Oh yeah, follow your gut. Solid advice.
Also, there's nice people out there. I feel like some of my greatest mentors have been men. And oh yeah. And I just like my first job, even though I took it out of desperation, just like you said, Devon, like I was just like, I just have to work, even though there were so many red flags. I did find at least one decent person there who really helped me. And if I didn't have him, I think I would not have made it. And now he works with me at my new job.
Yeah. There's always somebody that loves explaining things, and the social person that likes explaining things and they like talking with people and interacting with people. They're at every company. Like, you can always find that person.
I love that. Perfect. All right. Next, this should be a somewhat straightforward question. Frida asks, what advice do you have for someone who's new to pair programming? What norms are there that are good to establish when you're new to that?
I haven't done it since Hackbright, to be honest. I do a lot of, I'll pull up my screen and I'll share my screen and someone will tell me what to do. But then, or someone pulls up their screen and they walk me through something. But pair programming, I literally have not done it since Hackbright. I know some companies are like all about it. But from what I've done in the 7 years I've been in the industry, it's mostly been screen share. They may push something, I pull it, I run it, or, I share my repo with someone, they pull it down, play with it when they can, when they get back to me personally.
Okay.
Yeah, but a Hackbright has this really great metaphor for if you are in a paired programming situation, with the driver and the navigator, and you kind of establish like who's going to be driving, who's actually typing, versus who's navigating and kind of taking the direction, and like having those roles and switching off and just making sure you're communicating well. I think is probably the most important thing.
I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I pair program every day. And I think the main thing is every person is different, and every person has different expectations of what they are going to get out of the pair program experience, especially if they are more senior and you're more junior. You are probably not expected to have a bigger input. So you should definitely be in the driver's seat, because that's how you'll learn. And slowly but surely you'll make your way to the navigator seat. And it's good though, the main thing is that you just talk about it before you even start, so that it's clear what the expectations are from both parties.
Perfect. I love all the perspectives. Awesome. And then we'll end with the last question. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So quick highlights to get to the last question asked in the chat. How have you coped with rejections in the job search when you were like interviewing, job hunting? What helped you be resilient? Any thoughts on that? Mehayla, you might have been the most recent one in that seat.
So before Hackbright, I had a 2-year job search, and I had submitted over 500 applications. And there were definitely points in that time that I got extremely discouraged. I think the one thing that helped is like just consistently applying, just keep applying no matter what. And then for interviews, especially because interviews, you have like that hope. And if it doesn't work out, then you kind of have that dip. I started drinking hot chocolate when I would go into an interview, because it would like really just boost my mood. And even if it didn't work out, I did it and I got hot chocolate out of it. And I don't know why, but my interviews started going so much better when I started doing that. Yeah. And if you feel discouraged, like reach out to friends, reach out to like other people who are in Hackbright, because that's another benefit of the program. After Hackbright, you're going through the job application process with your entire cohort, so they understand exactly what you're going through. And I think Hackbright also kind of had a discussion with everyone, and I love that they did this. Like some people are going to find jobs sooner than others, and establishing boundaries about how you talk about that, and making sure you're asking people, because some people it's going to be hard and some people it's going to be really easy. Yeah.
Love that. And way to point out that the community is there. And that's one of the beautiful things about spending this time with all these different peers, is that you're building this community, you're building this network, and they're there to support you through the process. And so is the Hackbright team. By no means do you graduate and you're pushed out of the nest. Like, we want to still be a part of your journey after graduating, and still very much want to hear from you and help you any way we can. I think that concludes. I don't see any more questions. I know we're over time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, but I cannot thank you enough, everybody, for being here, participants and panelists alike. Thank you especially to Nura, Mehayla, and Devon for giving us some of your time. It's so wonderful to hear from Hackbright grads where you are. It uplifts me. It's like your hot chocolate, Mehayla. It makes me happy to have these events. So thanks for attending. I'm going to drop the email to Hackbright admissions. If you are somebody who's getting ready to apply, please reach out. We are here to get you information to help you find the best path for you. And so we're happy to pick up any information or questions you might not have been answered this time. And we're hopeful to have more events like this in the future. So keep a lookout on our events page, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good rest of your night.